Welcome to a very sunny St George's Park. We're enjoying life, Carve and myself out here, and your timing is impeccable because the England players have just taken to the field, and the absolutely, well, not a huge headline, I don't think it was unexpected, but the big headline is no Harry Maguire. We know that he's been struggling with this ankle ligament problem that's kept him out for exactly a month. It was exactly a month ago today that he picked up that ankle ligament problem against Aston Villa, I think it was, in the Premier League. Missed the Europa League final, of course, so that creates a significant headache for Gareth Southgate. What does he do at centre-back, Carvey?
Well, look, I think what he has to consider now, that he switches to playing with a back three, because Harry Maguire is so important for this England side. And of course, at the World Cup in 2018, we were both there. England were very successful playing with that back three of Walker, Stones and Maguire. And in the semi-final against Croatia, which they actually, of course, lost, they played with that back three. But he has switched to playing with a back four. And actually, if you remember, in the Nations League in November 2018 at Wembley, England beat Croatia 2-1, and they played with a back four. And that back four was Walker and Chilwell, and also Gomez in the centre of that back four as well. So it's not just Harry Maguire who's missing. Joe Gomez is a real big miss as well. And I think a lot of people are thinking that Gareth Southgate may switch to a back three. I'm not so sure, because he's had success playing against Croatia with a back four, so we shouldn't discount the fact that he will keep with a back four.
I share your thoughts, though, that Southgate's instinct is always to go, has always been, if you look at the games against the better sides, when he's come up against better opposition, he's tended to go with a three centre-backs, even when Harry Maguire's been fit. The fact that he hasn't got Harry Maguire fit, I think it's almost inevitable now he's going to go with three centre-backs for that opening game against Croatia on Sunday.
Do we think that this rules Harry Maguire out now of the game? If he can't even train today, and what we've heard is that yes, he's been running, he's been working in the gym, but he hasn't been out kicking a ball. And if he hasn't been doing that, and the game is on Sunday, are we jumping the gun by saying we should rule him out now?
I don't think we are. And look, Gareth Southgate has admitted as much. He said it was going to be a bonus if Harry Maguire could play any part in that opening game against Croatia. The fact that he's not out here in this first England training session ahead of the European Championships, and he's not out there, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think he can make it. But so the question was about who is he going to go for, and we're looking at Connor Cody at the back of that group there. And look, we fully expect it to be John Stones and Kyle Walker, I think, as two of those back three, if he's going to go with those. But there's a huge question mark about which will be the third centre back. You're looking at Connor Cody. I think he's got an excellent chance. Of course, it's been Tyrone Mings who's had the nod in the two warm-up games, and look, he didn't have his best games for England, I think you have to say. He was very lucky to not concede a penalty against Austria in that first warm-up game, Tyrone Mings. But the advantage of that player you're looking at now, the Aston Villa centre-back, is he's left-footed, and that gives England a better balance. Southgate likes that because he's got Walker on the right, who's naturally right-footed. You've got Tyrone Mings on the left, who's naturally left-footed, and you've got John Stones in the middle. And look, I think the one thing you and I both agree on is John Stones is going to be in the centre of that three when they come up against Croatia on Sunday.
I think it's very likely that John Stones and Mings will start.
You think so?
We don't know whether it's going to be in a three or a two. If it's a three, we'd expect Kyle Walker to come in there as well. I think that the big question is, if you play with a back three, then you're sacrificing one of the forward players. So you can't get somebody like Jack Grealish into the starting 11. You may not be able to get somebody like Phil Foden in the starting 11. Now look, there's a lot of clamour, a lot of people want Jack Grealish to start this game. But the kind of feeling we're getting from Gareth Southgate and around the camp is, I'm not sure Southgate trusts him 100% to start. I think he sees him more as a kind of player who can come on and change a game. Maybe further on in the tournament, when he's established himself, he will be starting games. But I think Gareth Southgate is quite conservative when it comes to his selections, especially for opening games. I think it would be out of character if he was to start Jack Grealish. Although, having said that, you have to say Jack Grealish has been outstanding whenever he's played for England.
Absolutely right, and I think key as well that Jack Grealish played as a number 10 in those two warm-up games. He didn't play an attacking wide position, which is where he's more comfortable, more used to playing for Aston Villa. So I agree with you. I think he's your first sub. If you're losing or you're chasing a goal against Croatia, you maybe bring off one of your holding midfield players, and Southgate will bring on Grealish. Grealish. But
what about Phil Foden?
Yeah,
a lot of people are now saying that he's ahead of Raheem Sterling, that he should be starting ahead of Raheem Sterling.
He has been for Manchester City. I mean, look at the games, the big games that Manchester City have played towards the back end of the season, and it was always Phil Foden who got the nod ahead of his teammate Raheem Sterling. I think that is a pecking order that's emerging with Manchester City. I'm not sure it's the same pecking order here at England. I've been looking at the stats, and Raheem Sterling played in every single game for England and started every single game for England in the last World Cup in 2018, except the dead rubber against Belgium at the end of the group stage. So all of the knockout stages, he started against Colombia in the last 16, Sweden in the quarter-final, and against Croatia in the semi-final. It was Raheem Sterling that Southgate went for, and I think he always falls back on Raheem Sterling. England's most capped player, 61 caps he's got. I can't see Gareth Southgate leaving Raheem Sterling out of the starting 11 for a difficult game against one of the best sides in the world at the start of the European Championships.
And that would mean no Phil Foden.
And I think it means
you see Phil Foden on the bench.
Yeah, and look, and I'm sure a lot of England fans won't want it, and it's not necessarily what you and I would do, Carve. But I think you're right. Southgate's priority will be not to lose this opening game. Croatia are the best side in the group, the biggest competition England will face. He won't want to lose it, and so I think that the powder kegs that are Jack Grealish and Phil Foden, I think he'll keep that powder dry, if you like, on the bench and go with the tried and tested that have done it for them in a major tournament already.
I think you're exactly right there. I think this England squad has got so much attacking talent, so many great young players, and I think if it was left to the fans, yes, the fans all want to see Jack Grealish, they want to see Phil Foden, they want to see Mason Mount, they want to see Sterling, Sancho, all these great attacking players, but Gareth Southgate has to be careful because we know Croatia are a very, very dangerous side. They got to the last World Cup finals. They are a very difficult side, especially to play in tournaments. They are really experienced at tournament football, so Gareth Southgate has to be very, very careful with his selection. Remains to be seen whether he goes with a flat back four or that back three that he's used before.
I think it's going to be a really interesting decision that Gareth Southgate makes on this opening game. Of course, we won't hear from him again until match day -1, as we call it, which is Saturday, the day before the game, and a lot of the key decisions and the key training clues will happen when the cameras are turned off. We only get the first 15 minutes. You can see them coming in for a bit of a huddle now. One other footnote, by the way, just before we hand back to you in the studio, is Bukayo Saka is back out there training again. He had a slight hip injury that meant he was rested against Romania in that last warm-up game against Romania on Sunday, and Jordan Henderson is out there too. Wouldn't expect him to maybe feature at all, you have to say, the little game time that he's had in this opening game against Croatia. But basically we're saying England have a full, fit, available squad apart from Harry Maguire. 25 players available except Harry Maguire, who's still following his own personal recovery plan, and that is going to be the talking point for England right up to until they get into that final game against Croatia.